And whether you want to hear it or not, every single person is hiding something from you. Every single person, including you. You are hiding something from other people, and you're probably also hiding a bunch of things from yourself. And there's something that Chase Hughes said that I'll never, ever, ever forget. He said, people don't show us their truth, they show us their defense mechanism. And that mechanism always overcompensates for their greatest fear. The tough guy hides his fear of people seeing how deeply hurt he is behind this big ego. The people pleaser hides her fear of rejection, and behind every yes is the need for approval that she never got. And behind every judgment is the defense mechanism that a judgmental person uses, thinking to themselves, okay, well, if I judge this trait in somebody else first, then maybe people won't see that trait in me. So here's the thing, when you start looking just beneath the surface, you begin to see the truth. And it's the exact same thing with the patriarchy, because right beneath all the lies and the brainwashing that the patriarchy has done to women and to men, you will see the truth. You'll see reality. Because just like with people's behaviors, the patriarchy is also a defense mechanism. The only difference is that it's an institutionalized defense mechanism. I want you to think of a philosopher. Think of one, just any philosopher. You probably thought of Plato or Aristotle or Socrates or Marcus Aurelius, or maybe Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Thomas Hobbes, René Descartes. Smash. Did you ever think of a girly pop? Now look on your screen, okay? Because this philosopher has something to tell you, which is the law of inversion, okay? Everything that you see, or almost everything that you see, is actually an inversion of the truth. And when it comes to patriarchy, that is the ultimate inversion. Now, patriarchy is based on slave morality. If you are a Nietzsche fan, this is going to sound familiar because I'm going to adapt Nietzsche's theory of master and slave morality to the patriarchy. So, according to Nietzsche, society is divided into masters, the powerful and wealthy minority, and slaves, the poor and oppressed masses. Master morality establishes what's good. It values strength, ambition, power, pride, and it's based on self-affirmation of the masters, right? They're stroking their own egos. Slave morality establishes what's evil, okay? And it's rooted in envy and resentment. This might start to sound familiar. So slave morality is reactive to master morality. So what the slaves label as evil, the masters label as good. So for example, ambition is evil and it's virtuous to be humble. This might sound even more familiar if you know patriarchy hack number 2 in my book, Don't Be Humble. Power is evil and it's virtuous to be obedient. Desire is evil and it's virtuous to live in self-denial, so on and so forth. You get the idea. Now applying this to the patriarchy, many men resent that women have this unearned privilege of being able to create and sustain life, which if you look at it, might not actually be an unearned privilege, because if you get butthole pain when you ovulate, then you've earned the privilege. And depending on your own views, you might see this as a gift or you might see this as a curse, because you can literally die during pregnancy and childbirth, or you might look at this as a gift that we are the ones who are portals to the earth. Either way, most men look at this as an unearned privilege, and so they had to create a whole ass system to create unearned privileges of their own, which they then called the bleh. So the slave morality of patriarchy basically establishes what's bad, because if women were to truly take ownership and harness the powers that we have and then go on and be ambitious and assertive and all the things that are deemed wrong for us, the world will look completely different. And the system is afraid of that. It's afraid of the power that women have. So it has to establish its own moral code through things like religion to prevent women from actually reaching their full potential, because that would be too dangerous. And the only way they could do this is by brainwashing us, because the only way to turn a whole natural order of things on its head is to deliberately mastermind a way to brainwash and marginalize and disenfranchise. And this is like the epitome of when the revolution comes, because it's such a radical way of thinking. But the truth often sounds more crazy than a lie. So someone's probably listening to this thinking, who is this wackadoodle talking about slave morality and female potential and la la la? Yeah, when I tell you, when the revolution comes, when we rematriate, this is going to make so much sense.
We have no view.
When the revolution comes and the heads of the imperialist swine are impaled on sticks stuck in the sand for the peoples to spit on, you'll be glad you don't got a view.
Okay, so that is patriarchal morality in a nutshell. Again, if you've read Patriarchy Hack 1 in my book, Stop Being Guided by Right and Wrong, this probably sounds familiar to you. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Or at least that's the foundation of what we're going to talk about today. Because once you flip what patriarchy is telling you, that's when you find the truth. By the way, hello. I am Nikki. I am your host and the baddest bitch in the building. Not to be confused with you, who's also the baddest bitch in the building. And let me tell you something. All right, let me tell you something. The patriarchy is like a boot on our necks. But that boot was not made by a cobbler. It's not a nice leather boot with a thick leather sole. Actually, in fact, that boot is not even a boot at all. It's a sock cosplaying as a boot. It's like those Balenciaga shoes that look like socks. I like those Balenciagas, the ones that look like socks. I like going to the jeweler at Parak selling my watch. Okay, anyway, so the patriarchy is not even a boot. It is a sock cosplaying as a boot. And that is where I come in, because I'm here to show you how you can tickle that foot and start to get it off of your neck. And that is exactly why the patriarchy is the epitome of the law of inversion. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into 5 different ways that the patriarchy hides the truth in plain sight. And we're going to dissect that. I'm going to show you exactly how when you flip the patriarchy, you get to the truth. And then after that, we're going to sit in on a meeting of the patriarchy's PR team. Without further ado, let's get into item number 1, which is women are naturally nurturing. If I could throw up for every time someone said this, unironically, I would be like 1 pound, because I'm disgusted every time I hear this. And this is the result of so many different layers of intentional brainwashing. Now, like I mentioned, patriarchy is based on slave morality. And part of that slave morality is weaponizing our ability to create life against us. Oh, you can have babies? Okay, well, we'll make sure that that's the only thing you can do. So patriarchy weaponizes that unearned privilege against us by essentially teaching girls from a very young age that it is our natural role to be caregivers and nurturers. And this is great because it uses the cloak of gender essentialism, which is basically that because of your gender, you are biologically inclined to do certain things. So if you're a girl, then you are basically biologically hardwired to be a caregiver. And that gets us performing emotional labor, taking on the emotional burdens of other people, making us think that we're the glue that holds everything together. And you'll notice that from childhood, we start to take on the burden of others and put ourselves second or third or last. In my opinion, if you don't put yourself first, you've automatically put yourself last. But that's glamorized and glorified in girls. And it's right beneath that lie that women are the natural caregivers that we find the truth, which is women are leaders. I'm hesitant to use the words natural because patriarchy, its PR team loves the word natural. And so in a lot of patriarchy's marketing, the word natural gets thrown around and it draws on gender essentialism and things like that. So I don't want to use the word naturally to say, women are natural leaders. I believe that women are meant to lead. I believe that women tend to be better leaders than men. And I believe that with the right socialization and training and confidence, most women could make really, really good leaders, much better leaders than men. But I want to be a little bit wary of not falling into the same trap and PR tactics as the patriarchy. Now, this leads me to the next piece of propaganda, which is that men are naturally dominant because they're physically stronger. Men using their physical strength as a tool for coercion and using their physical strength to establish dominance is a lot like discovering how to split the nucleus of an atom and then using that to create an atomic bomb rather than using that to create clean nuclear energy, for example. And it's so funny because their physical strength to me is a symbol or an indication of their expendability. Like, why do you think in so many wars and countries, men are the ones who are drafted? They really want to jump through a lot of hoops to show how their strength means dominance, which means leadership. But that's just a way to cope with the fact that their strength is an indicator of their expendability and oftentimes of their submissiveness. Now, again, I'm not going to say men are naturally submissive, but I do believe, based on a lot of what I've observed, that men tend to be a lot more submissive than women. And let me paint it for you this way. A lot of men really fetishize submissiveness. They revere military service. They like being submissive to other men. I'm not even kidding. I see men literally licking the boots, the Balenciaga socks of other men. And it's wild. I see men loading the barbells of other men in the gym for no other reason other than I just want to load your bar. Oh my goodness. I see men actually like go get a room and just do your thing, right? So I believe that men have a lot of submissive energy about them. Like a lot of them want to be good boys deep down, but because patriarchy feeds us this lie that men are the dominant ones and men are the natural leaders, and it's icky and unmanly for men to be submissive, then they have to jump through all sorts of hoops to show how big and alpha they are, when in reality, that is a defense mechanism. That's another inversion. So all that to say, this whole propaganda that men are naturally more dominant because they are stronger, it just doesn't hold up to me. I think it's a load of baloney. And if you really want to get into it, I squat over 300 pounds. I deadlift over 300 pounds. I've benched over 200 pounds with a slingshot, but I'm almost close to benching 200 pounds. So, yeah, I can walk into a commercial gym and outlift almost any guy around me. So miss me with the men are naturally stronger. I mean, I got to put in a little bit of work, but I can be just as strong, if not stronger than you. But no matter how much work you put in, you're not going to be able to grow a womb. So sucks to suck. And obviously, the exception to this is the fact that I've been lifting for almost 15 years, and there's probably a 16-year-old boy who's gone to the gym twice and is like 10 times stronger than me. That guy is a freak of nature. That doesn't count. But all that to say, the lie, which is that men are naturally the leaders and naturally dominant because they're physically stronger, if you look right beneath that and flip it, the truth is that men's strength is a tool for their own submissiveness and expendability. The third piece of propaganda is that the only way women can prove their worth is by being of service to other people. And this touches a little bit on the whole nurturing caregiver archetype that the patriarchy likes to push on women. So it does weaponize that against us. And it's also a very sneaky way of getting us to perform emotional labor and take responsibility for people around us and to keep giving, because it operates on this superstition that if I give everything, I'll finally be enough. And we think that the currency we have to give is ourselves, that we only have value through external factors. We only build our own value by proving to other people that we have value. We only have value when someone else tells us that we do and when someone else appreciates what we've done for them, because our value comes from what we do for others rather than who we are as individuals. And right beneath that lie that women only have value when they're of service to people is the truth, which is women have value inherently just by being who they are. Every human being has value. Everybody is born with value, no matter if you're a man or a woman, but there's a different value, there's a different energy that women bring simply through their presence. And what I like to say is that women can just command a room with nothing but their presence. Whereas men have to be loud and obnoxious and egotistical, and they have to beg for attention. And that should tell you something, which is, as women, I don't bring anything to the table. If I'm coming to the table, that's what I've brought. I've brought my presence. And I want to be careful that we don't fall into this trap that just because you're a woman, you're a good person. I did an episode about this on my Patreon called the Femininity to Entitlement Pipeline. I don't think simply being a woman makes you a good person. I believe that being a self-actualized woman and truly understanding what it is that you have to offer, not in terms of what you can give and tangible things that you have to do for other people, but what you have to offer in terms of your being, in terms of the unique value that you have to the world. Do you know what I'm saying? Once you understand that, what makes you you, what makes you the only, not the best, but the only, that's when I believe you truly do not have to bring anything to the table, because just you being at the table is enough. But the patriarchy doesn't want us to self-actualize. It does not want us to get there. And so it keeps us at the lowest rung of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I like to call him the pervert's hierarchy of needs, because he was a pervert. If you read the introduction of my book, this probably sounds familiar, because I mapped out the 4 waves of feminism to the pervert's hierarchy of needs. And he's probably turning in his grave right now for what I did. But the patriarchy wants us to be at the lowest rung. It wants us to be in survival mode, because when you're in survival mode, you're only thinking about what's in front of you. You're only thinking about the next immediate step to just stay alive, to simply get ahead enough so that you're not dead, you're not lost in the rat race. But when you ascend and you transform into higher versions of yourself, you undertake self-discovery and learn about different parts of yourself that you didn't know existed, or that you bring to the surface, parts of yourself that you were trying to hide, and you develop unconditional love for every part of yourself, and you turn that self-love into self-mastery and understand how to create the best possible life and version of reality for yourself, that is when you are so freaking unstoppable. And if I was part of the patriarchy's PR team, I would be shivering in my timbers too. I would be trying to brainwash women too, because I would not want a woman self-actualizing, because she would just be too powerful. So to recap, the lie is that the only way women can prove their worth is by being of service to others. And right beneath that is the truth that women simply hold value through being. The next piece of propaganda is that men are scarce. And it might not be this wording exactly, it might be good men are scarce, good partners are scarce, which is not entirely false, but it gets us into this competitive mindset where the prize is a man. And I'll be damned if I play any game where I win a man at the end. Like I'd actually rather lose. I'd rather be disqualified, actually. And I've heard this so many times as somebody in my 20s getting pressure to get married. Oh, the good men are going to be gone. Oh, keep your eyes and ears open. Oh, you're approaching 30. After 30, it's all going to be divorced men. La la la. Like all this rhetoric and propaganda about how men are scarce. And this goes way deeper than that because it's a way to put men on a pedestal. And because we live in what I like to think of as the only parallel universe in this entire universal ecosystem that has a male god, we're taught to worship a man. We are literally taught to worship a dude. That in itself, without you even realizing it, puts men on a pedestal. It puts men above you. I'm getting worked up because it's so topsy-turvy. It's so topsy-turvy. So just by worshiping a male deity, we've been taught that men are above us. And then when we're fed lies like, oh, all the men are going to be gone, the good men are going to be gone, hurry up before you turn 30, la la la, or whatever it is, then we take that conditioning that we've been socialized into if you've been raised in a monotheistic religion. We combine that conditioning with men being on a pedestal, and we interpret these things through that conditioning. And it's not until you're consciously aware of this and you see how topsy-turvy upside down it is that you're like, hold on a minute. And that's why there are so many books, so many YouTube channels, so many people out there, including myself, who are literally talking about how to undo this, how to hold your own in a relationship, how to not be clingy, how to not be desperate, how to not be a pick-me. Because these have been so deeply ingrained in us because we think that men are the prize that we need years of conscious unlearning, of removing all those layers to get back to the core of what is the truth, which is that the true scarcity is actually in you. If you look at pretty much any other species of animal, you'll see that the males are the ones hoeing themselves out for the females. All those beautiful animals you see, the colorful peacock, the lion with the mane, a red cardinal, I see a lot of those in my yard. Those are the males. The females look just super basic. We think that the females are the colorful ones because we've been conditioned to be the ones who need to alter our appearance to command attention. But the natural way is actually for the males to do that because they are the ones who literally have to be like, oh, please, ma'am, please, please let me impregnate you, please, please let us be mates. Right? Like humans are the only ones who've gotten this so topsy-turvy. So depending on which culture you were raised in, you might have varying degrees of putting men on a pedestal and seeing them as the prize. And this propaganda doesn't just happen in dating and relationships. It infiltrates the way that we understand ourselves and our biology. So we're taught that we have a biological clock. I did a whole episode about this. I can't remember what it's called, but I'll link it here. We're taught that we have a biological clock, which, fun fact, was actually a term made up by a journalist named Richard Cohen in 1978 in an article called "The Biological Clock is Ticking for the Career Woman." And he had an agenda to basically shame women who wanted to delay having kids so that they can go and pursue their careers. So we've been taught that we have a biological clock. We have an expiry date, which is also tied to our worth. Remember, you're only as good as what you do for others. We're taught that we have this clock and that we expire at around age 40, so that, first of all, we feel like old, shriveled up people once that clock finishes ticking, and also so we rush and put men on a pedestal because you want to settle down, have a family, have kids before it's too late. So we base our lives on a lie. Women don't have a biological clock. Women have menopause. Humans are one of the only species of mammals that scientists have found that have menopause. The other two are orcas and elephants, which, surprise, surprise, are matriarchal. So if we're able to live past our reproductive years, then that means we clearly have a value aside from reproducing. Because if we didn't, then we'd drop dead at menopause. In fact, it's actually men, the males, whose job is to reproduce. If you think about it, men can reproduce up until the moment they die, which is not necessarily a good thing. The sperm a guy nuts out at age 50 is not the same quality of sperm that he nuts out at age 25. Okay, the quality of their sperm begins to decline at age 30, I believe. Listen to the episode. I have all the science in there. I don't want to misquote anything. But men are the ones who have the biological clock. Men are the ones who reproduce until they die. They don't have a reproductive window. So their job is to reproduce. And if you think about it even more deeply, men's orgasms only have a reproductive purpose. Every time a man ejaculates, he releases genetic information to reproduce. But that's not the case with women. Women don't produce genetic information to reproduce after they orgasm. Women's orgasms have tons of functions. And I don't want to fall into a rabbit hole there. Listen to that episode if it interests you. And the last thing I'll say is that the egg chooses the sperm. So to recap and wrap that up, the lie is that men are scarce. Men are the prize. And the truth is that women are the choosers and men are the beggars. The last lie is that the default is male. And this is something that is a lot more deeply entrenched than you might think, because our language is so masculine coded. I'm talking about the English language in particular, but I remember learning French. I was in French immersion, so I got most of my public school education in French. And when we were taught about gendered adjectives, I remember this so clearly. I was in grade 2. And in French, adjectives have genders, masculine or feminine. And we were taught that if there's a group of girls and one boy joins that group, then any adjective you use to describe that group becomes masculine. So language is so skewed towards the masculine, even with words like you guys, which I use all the time. I don't want to get offended at small things that are, so ingrained in our everyday lives. But you guys, imagine if we called a group you gals. The guys would lose their minds. Or saying bro, which is so much more common than sis. Or layman's terms, policeman, fireman, mailman, mankind, grow some balls. As if every pair of balls was not actually grown by a woman in her womb. But our language is so masculine coded. And not just that, it also villainizes and demonizes the feminine. Oh, he's such a pussy. Oh, don't be a bitch. What are you bitching about? I heard this. I don't know if people say this anymore, but I heard it on TV. Someone calling somebody else a boob. Like any term that is negative seems to come from the female anatomy or from the way we describe women. Or calling a group of guys ladies. Okay, ladies. Like, it's the misogyny and the patriarchy are so deeply ingrained in our language that we think that the default for everything is male. The episode I put out last week, the one right before this, is about medical misogyny. Research, medical research, scientific research has almost always been done on men. The shift towards actually including women in research is a fairly new addition. So everything, even in the gym, when I go to the gym and I want to hold a dumbbell, like if I'm doing dumbbell rows with like the 80-pound dumbbells, I'm strong enough to use the dumbbell, but my hands are small. And the grip on the dumbbells are made for a man's hands. So a man can use it easily, but even when I use straps, it actually makes the dumbbell thicker and it's harder to hold it. So when I have the physical strength, my grip fails because it's not made for my hands. And it's the same with a bunch of attachments in the gym. And it's the same for pretty much anything. It's like we are living as left-handed people in a right-handed world. So the lie is that the default is masculine. And the truth is that fetuses actually start off as phenotypically female. It's a little bit more complex than just saying the default is female, because sex is determined at conception and fetuses have male and female reproductive tracts. But at around 9 to 10 weeks of gestation, the female parts have to actively be undone, and hormones like testosterone have to come in and basically take the reins and develop that fetus as a male rather than it continuing on the path and becoming a female. Although there is work that needs to be done to make it female as well. But generally speaking, the default is fetuses are phenotypically female. So those are the 5 main ways that the patriarchy brainwashes us and lies to us about ourselves, our bodies, other people, men, women, society, the universe, everything. And this is not mutually exclusive. I can make a list of 100 items, and that still wouldn't be enough. But these are 5 of the main ones that creep into your life on a daily basis. And I encourage you to get into the habit of flipping things. If you've read my book, it's probably a lot easier for you to do this because I lay out 20 ways to do this. But for anyone listening, get into the habit of questioning things. If you're told something is right or wrong or expected, question why. Sometimes you might not be able to outright ask that, but ask yourself and let your intuition guide you, because things that are not in line with how they should be are going to create a nagging feeling in your gut. So trust your intuition and do not take things at face value. The law of inversion not only applies to systems like patriarchy, it applies to people's behaviors as well. So learn how to read people and get right beneath the surface. Get past the defense mechanism and get to the truth. And once you're able to do that, you're so much better able to interact with people. You'll be able to improve your interpersonal relationships, and you'll be able to navigate through this rigged ass system in a better way. Because we can't afford to play fair in an unfair world. We cannot just opt out. If you opt out, you automatically lose by default. But we can play to win on our own terms. And that comes from first understanding how we've been lied to. Now, as promised, I have a little sneak peek into the patriarchy's first ever PR meeting that you're not supposed to see, but I had a hidden camera, so you'll be able to see it. And this is a great chance to introduce one of my new characters, because you've met Victimella, you know Dakota, the girly boy, coworker Anthony, CEO Bill. I don't know if I'm forgetting any of the other characters, but you've met the main cast. Oh, or my alter ego, Nika Farrell. She comes out every once in a while. Now it's time to meet a new character, and her name is Joanne V. Pius. And she's going to be the one who actually runs the meeting. She's a woman who's been brainwashed by the patriarchy. So enjoy that, and I'll see you on the other side. All right, everyone gather around. Let's start this meeting promptly this time. A few housekeeping items before we get into it. First of all, last week's meeting had way too many items on the agenda, and we were not able to get through even a quarter of them. So today, instead of having 3 items on the agenda, we're going to have 1. Also, whoever is writing my phone number on the inside of men's bathroom stalls saying to call me up for a good time, please make sure that you write the phone number clearly and differentiate between the 1s and the 7s. And last thing, if anyone is here for the Evil Stepmom wet t-shirt contest, it's actually down the hall. All right, with that, let's get into our meeting today. The first item on our agenda, and the only item on the agenda. How do we convince people that men are the natural leaders.
Oh my goodness,
How do we
this is
convince them that we should sleep with
revolutionary.
each
Oh, I'm
other?
hard just thinking of this.
All right, I'm going to open the floor. Any ideas on how we can market this?
Okay, well, if men weren't the natural leaders, then why are they taller than women?
Oh, I'm about to
Einstein,
cry.
Who?
Okay, how about this one? If men weren't the natural leaders, then why do we have beards? A beard is like a bush is like nature, and men have nature on their faces. So they're the natural leaders.
That is amazing.
Oh,
Oh,
physical
I'm actually
domination.
crying
All right,
now.
let me write that down. That's a good one. All right, so what should we call this system?
I have an idea.
Shh, don't interrupt me. I'm talking. What should we call this system? So taller beard, nature, big hands that you use to shake hands, big hands that you use on your friend to jerk it. No, big hands. Okay, big hands. You put your big hands on your friend's crotch like a man would. Big hands. Pat the crotch. Pat the crotchy. Pat the crotchy. Pat patriarchy. Oh my God, we have a name. We have a name.
I want to pat
All
all
right,
of your
gentlemen, this
crotches.
was amazing work. Amazing work. A pat on all your backs and a pat on all your crotches. All right, let's take a quick jerk break and we'll be back in 15 seconds later. All right, thank you. All right, gentlemen. Now, to keep this system in place, we need to make sure that everyone is on board. All right, we need to find a way to keep the system in place, first of all. So, what should we do?
I say we just give them no other option.
No other option? Yeah, of course, that's a given. Anybody else?
So I was thinking,
Wait, shut up. I have an idea. From the time you have kids, all right, hear me out now. From the time you have kids, you need to teach them the proper way of acting, the patriarchy way of acting, all right? Otherwise, they're going to go out. They're going to talk to other people. They're going to form their own ideas. They're going to think for themselves. And then one thing leads to another. They're going to shave off their beards. The girls will have beards and everyone will just, the nature will be all over the place. So we can't let that happen. So here's what I'm thinking. Boys, aggressive. Yeah. Oh, a good one. Loud.
Wow.
In charge.
I like how you're in charge.
Independent.
Come on.
Yeah. Strong.
I'm so
Okay,
glad
now.
until the next jerk break.
Girls. Quiet.
Yeah.
Oh, a good one. Passive. Dependent.
Oh.
Yeah. Emotional.
Wow.
Sensitive.
Amazing.
Wait, that doesn't sound too appealing. Okay, let's label it as nurturing. Yes. Caring.
Oh,
yeah. Nice.
Oh, I want to pat your crotch.
All right, I see it. I see it in my mind's eye. I see it taking form. Oh, the beards. Okay. Jerk break is not until a few more minutes. Let's hold it together. All right, but we need something even more robust, okay? We can't just count on the parents, okay? Because they might go on and think for themselves too. We need, I'm thinking of something you can't answer to, something you can't top.
what if we scare the crap out of them?
I like it. I feel like we haven't used fear enough, so that's perfect. We need somebody who can make them scared, who will kill them if they don't obey, who will burn them if they question anything. And will use the threat of eternal punishment. Oh my God. Jinx, you owe me a blowjob. No,
you.
We'll figure it out. Okay, so we have fear, we have eternal punishment, we have burning, killing. Love that, great touch. We need someone who's like a boss. You know who's the boss? He's like a CEO, but also the board of directors, but also the president of the company, but also the prime minister of the country, but also boss of the world. So how do we make this character come to life? We need to make them scary. You know what I mean? Scary.
I mean, it could be a woman, right? She's the one who gives birth.
Security? Thank you. All right, seriously, guys, come on now. Oh, guys, we'll make the default of everything masculine. Oh my goodness. Okay.
But you're a woman.
Security. Got that one too. Good. That weirdo was right, though. People might start asking questions. Oh my gosh, those ribs I had for lunch are really creating a problem for me. Oh. Gentlemen, I think I just got an idea on how to tell people that the women are not the ones in charge. Yikshimash! I hope you baddies enjoyed this episode. I was inspired to make this episode after watching Ladies First on Netflix, and I love satire. That's why films like Borat and Borat 2, which is for the girls, highly recommend, resonate so much with me, and they're movies I keep watching over and over again. And if you enjoyed my content and you enjoyed this episode, you enjoy hearing me talk, whatever it is about me that you enjoy, you will definitely have fun on my Patreon, where I post even more content, more personal things, behind the scene things. There's so many things there that do not make it onto my public feed. So check it out if you want. I'll leave the link in the description box. And either way, I'm happy you're here. I'm happy you're part of our community. And I will see you in the next episode. Until next time, don't forget that you are the baddest bitch in any motherfucking building you step foot in. Excuse me, sorry about that. That was Nika Farrell. That was not Nikki Motabar. Anyway, in the meantime, stay bad. Love you. Bye. This is your captain speaking. I wanted to give a shout out to all the baddies who are supporting on Patreon: Kate, Danny, Lindsay, Emberly, Brittany, Hannah, Nadine, Amanda, Kitty, Red, Lisa, Melissa, Adriana, Gemma, Naomi, Nilufar, Nadia, Melinda, Sophia M, Sophia K, Jada, Amara, and Kat. Thank you all so much for your support, for being Star Alliance members, and thank you for flying Air Buddy. I think next thing we're going to do is we're going to publish some books about the fear and the origin story. I think that's another direction we can go in. So let's talk to a few publishers and see where that goes. All right. And I think a really important topic that we should discuss on next week's agenda is why men should pee standing up. What do you think?